Welcome to the Start It, Own It, Finish It podcast with Dat Boy Mo 629. Discussing everything fitness and everything motivation. Here is where you will get your fitness education and motivational fix. Now, here's your host, Dat Boy Mo 629.
What's good, everybody? It's that boy Mo 629 coming to y'all with another edition of the Start It, Own It, Finish It podcast. This time we about to talk about the man himself, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's Martin Luther King Day, this day on Monday, January 20th. A lot of things happening today. You know what I'm saying? Today is a very busy day, right? You got, you know what I'm saying, the inauguration of the new president, Donald Trump, right? I ain't getting in no politics right now. I ain't getting no politics. This is Dr. King Day. And we also got the Ohio State versus Notre Dame National Championship today, right? So at the end of the day, it's a lot going on. In the morning with the Trump thing, or the whole day, Dr. Martin Luther King, you know what I'm saying? We got the Trump inauguration. And then, you know what I'm saying, we got Ohio State versus Notre Dame tonight. But we about to talk about Dr. King. Dr. King, man. If you don't know me, right, if those who know me know that Dr. King is, even growing up as a kid, he was a pivotal, his historical figure of my life, right? And that's why I'm dedicating this podcast to Dr. King, because at the end of the day, I put a lot of podcasts on here for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I just recently did one on Tiffany Stratton, John Cena, Ryan Day, Dave Blunt, and all them. Get one in positivity for my dog, Dr. King, man. Because Dr. King, this dude right here, y'all don't understand. When I was a kid, a kid, 6, 7 years old, I used to draw pictures of Martin Luther King. Right? Draw pictures of Martin Luther King. I remember I drew a picture of him for an old neighbor of my auntie, Marcia, who lived in Newtown Apartments. And, growing up, you know what I'm saying, you got the old heads, you know what I'm saying, the aunt, the grandmamas, you know what I'm saying, the uncles and stuff like that. I'm talking about Dr. King. So I don't even know, I think I'm an old soul, right? So I drew a picture of Dr. King. I was always into Black history. I still am into Black history. And Dr. King always stood out to me because at the end of the day, Martin Luther King Jr., it's just something about him that intrigued me. And I always followed him. And I always, looked up to his teaching and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You got people that tell jokes and stuff like Black people, you know what I'm saying? We joke. You know what I'm saying? I can imitate, I have a dream, you know what I'm saying? I have a habit one time. Listen to, oh my God. So, here's a story back in the day, right? So, I work in logistics. My 9 to 5 in logistics. And remember years ago, I just thought about this story right now. And years ago, we had a truck driver. He was a white guy. We had a truck driver who was passionate about equality, and people used to call him crazy. I remember this dude used to blast the "I Have a Dream" speech. A white guy, mind you, the Dr. King "I Have a Dream" speech in his vehicle every time he came to work. And boy, I tell you, I don't know. And people started calling him crazy. Me, I was like, oh, I rock with him. But he ended up getting fired. Long story short, he got fired. I forgot I think for getting in an argument with somebody about, I don't know, something racial or stuff like that. They try to call him racist. I'm like, how is he racist when he blasting the Dr. King "I Have a Dream" speech every day? But I don't know. But he used to blast that speech every single day he came to work in his car. And what I would say, and thing is about Dr. King, I'm going to get into some stuff real quick, you know what I'm saying? So, thing about Dr. King is that it's still prevalent to this day, right? I love Dr. King, you know what I'm saying? Dr. King, my dog. But I think the protagonist and antagonist of Dr. King and Malcolm X, right? They were both, Dr. King wanted, like, no violence, no violence. And Malcolm X was like, by any means necessary. So, because Dr. King was he's a reverend. He ain't gonna, he ain't gonna be running around with guns and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And yada, yada. He ain't gonna do that. But, a lot of times, maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to go back to the Dr. King method. Because I don't know, because the way the world is today, right? If you look back, and I'm talking from a minority standpoint, if you kind of look back from the Dr. King days, in the 60s, it was crazy. All these leaders was getting killed, right? the president got killed. Martin Luther King got killed. Malcolm X got killed. All in the 60s. This was in the 60s, bro. Oh, the 60s was some crazy ass times. But it's all for, I think, the fight for freedom when you think about it. Like, JFK was about freedom. Martin Luther King was about equality and stuff like that. And Malcolm X was talking, you know what I'm saying? It was all about, and the thing about it is, like, when you all think about today, and I don't really want to, like I said, I don't want to get into politics, but this is Martin Luther King. So let's talk about this. So today, if you look back then, today, to today, what is the glaring similarities as far as what King wanted? King wanted equality, right? And we ain't talking about equality. We're talking about equality for the same, like, okay, the same opportunities and stuff like that. The same opportunities are out there today, right? The programs to kind of like prevent prejudice and racism and, whatnot. But the main issue and what people need to realize, I'm going to tell you this right now, it's a little bit about race, but more about class. They have to keep us separated, have to keep the poor, the middle class, and the rich. That's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. That's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. The rich, and I'm talking about billionaires, millionaires, and the upper class, middle class, poor, because they all help each other out in any certain way. And when you think about this, the poor has to work, right? They have to work for the rich or the upper class. Middle class ain't really owning businesses, right? So, like that. It has to be the upper class. So you have to be like a 6-figure person to actually own a business. So you got to pay people underneath you and stuff like, unless you're making around 90, 99,000, that still ain't a lot of money. $99,000 is not a lot of money. So you're looking at the 6 figures. And what King was trying to do, if you look at his speeches and all that stuff, it's all about giving poor people opportunities. Poor people opportunity. That's what got him killed. Right? Wasn't nobody black gonna be a president back in the 60s. Wasn't nobody black gonna be a president in the 70s. It's the fact that, and like I said, race plays a part, right? I don't want people listening to this. Oh, you race baiting, and I'm calling it like it is. I'm black. At the end of the day, I'm black, so I have firsthand experience on a lot of this stuff. Now, am I saying I have not been given the same opportunities as my white counterparts or my other counterparts or whatever? I have been bypassed, yes, in the past, probably in the present or whatever. There's more equality now as far as personality and stuff like that. And we can go back to what Hulk Hogan said, and Hulk Hogan got booed from the WWE universe, and I agree with them 100%. I would have been booing with him. I am an Ultimate Warrior fan. He has some conservative views. He has some views, too, that were not popular. But I ain't never heard him call me no nigga. Actually, when I met the Ultimate Warrior, he didn't have to talk to me. This dude grabbed my phone, grabbed somebody and said, hey, let's take a picture, man. Come on. Man, the Ultimate Warrior gave me the most realest speech ever. Boy, I have to swing on that motherfucker. But anyway, but when the stories come out about Hulk Hogan being racist, it really boils down to he's a racist, but he 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 didn't want his daughter polluting the family bloodline with color. He wanted to keep it white. Now, I tell people close to me, there's two things here. There's racist and racial. Racial tendencies. Racist tendencies. There's two things. Like when you see a group of, and I want to have real conversations. Because these are real conversations. Because at the end of the day, we need to have real conversations. Everybody sugarcoating stuff. There's racial tendencies and real tendencies and racist tendencies out here. Like, it's called prejudging. Like, you see somebody black or whatever, you be like, all right, they're black. Or you see somebody white, okay, they're white. And you kind of associate, even though it's probably not even a part of your normal way of thinking, you just associate things that the majority of that culture do. Like if you see an Indian couple, you see Indian, be like, there's something that they do, right? Or see black couple or black people, you be like, there's something that they do or that mirror what the stereotype is. Now, are they stereotypical black folks? Probably not. More than likely now, they're stereotypical Indian folks. Probably not. Me, I get along with every single culture. Me and my wife, we went to China. So we went to China, we went to Egypt, we went to Hawaii, many different cultures. I'm a cultural person. My brother, who passed away, is half Arab, right? Was half Arab. So I'm already familiar with the Arab community. I'm familiar with the Caucasian community. I'm familiar with the Hispanic community, the Asian community, the Indian community. All communities, right, that I'm familiar with. I learn. Like I have Hispanic coworkers. They teach me about a lot of stuff that I don't know about. I teach them about a lot of stuff that they don't know about. It's a learning thing, right? That we got to learn about. We're all people. At the end of the day, we're all people, all bleed red. Our blood is the same, our organs, right? You can get an organ transplant from a person from a different race because your heart beat the same, your liver detoxify the same, your stomach digest the same. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can have eyes transplanted, you know what I'm saying? A donor of a different person's eyes of a different race. You see what I'm saying? And that's what Dr. King was pretty much trying to convey, that we are all men and women of equality. You see what I'm saying? So, and he had a dream. He had a dream, and that I Have a Dream speech was one of the, if not the best. Because you got like a whole lot of presidential speeches out there that are notable. So, Martin Luther King had an I Have a Dream speech, all right? And they always say he had a dream and the dream ain't been realized, right? Okay, so, I mean, the dream has been realized more than ever. We had minority vice president. We had a minority president of the United States, which no one ever thought would happen. We have minorities in high position. Hell, Elon Musk is a foreigner, and he's the richest man in the world. A lot of people hate him. He's the richest man in the world, right? So, like, Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech was an amazing human being. He had his faults. There's rumors out there that he cheated on his wife, Coretta Scott King, with other women. I'm not going to get into that. If that is true, then I fault him on that, yes. I'm not big on cheating at all. So, I'm going to read an excerpt of this I Have a Dream speech, right? I'm not going to do the whole thing, but this is a hell of a, like, you got to think, man, in the 60s, this guy brought to Washington, D.C., right? And the Washington Monument. And this is what he said. He said 50 years ago, right? A great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon of light, of hope, to millions of Negro slaves who have been seared in the flames of withering injustice. Whew, that's deep. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. Look at the words, man. Look at the word. This is before AI. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. Look at that. Class. It's the class poverty talking about there. 100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition, the living condition of the Negro, poverty. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cast a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. Listen to this. Listen, this is some deep shit. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, will be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Damn. Martin was cooking, boy. I just gotta chill. I don't even give a damn. If I only get one listen on this, that's great. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Citizens of color. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check at which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. So we have come to cash this check, a check that will give us hope, that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. Damn. It's my boy. We have also come to this hollow spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Do you guys understand what that even means? Let me repeat that. We have also come to this hollow spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. We need this done now, is what he's saying. Now. Don't drag your feet. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off. Stay hot, stay engaged, stay pissed off. Or take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Accept dragging feet and a gradual path to maybe do something. Now is the time to make the real promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. They wasn't listening, bro. They wasn't listening. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It will be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Now listen to that. 1963 is now 2025. 1963. That was almost 60 years ago. That was over 60 years ago. That was 62 years ago. 62 years ago. 1963. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returned to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. That's just an excerpt. I mean, you can look this up. You can look this up on the internet. Obviously, I got this off the internet. And this 63 years later, I was born in 1982, right? So I'm born in 1982. About 20 years later, after this speech was spoken. And I am repeating this speech. You see what I'm saying? I am repeating this speech. I was born 20 years after this speech was spoken. And me, at the age I am, is repeating this speech because that is what evergreen is. Martin Luther King. This day, a lot of people were like, why does he need a federal holiday? It doesn't make any sense. Martin Luther King, you guys don't, for those who don't understand, Martin Luther King was more than a reverend. Martin Luther King was just more than just a symbol, a person who made a speech. The guy died fighting for equality. He was set up. He was assassinated. The man was assassinated fighting for equality. They couldn't take it no more. They assassinated. I went to the Martin Luther King site, the hotel where he got killed. They let us see where dude was standing in the tub and pointed the gun at him. Supposedly. He was the one that did that. Supposedly. There's rumor that he told the family he didn't do it. That's another conspiracy theory. Martin Luther King was sought out. He was dangerous. Know why he was dangerous? Because he was dangerous because he's having a meeting in the White House. Martin Luther King overstepped what he was supposed to step into. Now, certain folks didn't like that. Same thing with JFK. JFK was exposed in secret societies, and certain folks didn't like that. Malcolm X was becoming a bigger voice than the Nation of Islam, and certain folks didn't like that. You see what I'm saying? So you start on and finish the podcast. It's about fitness and motivation.
Back then I wasn't, now I'm on. I'm ready, kill it. I'm in my zone. I couldn't, done it. But now it's done. I live it, I love it. Cause I'm the one, chosen one. I wasn't, but now I'm on. I'm ready, kill it. I'm in my zone. I couldn't, done it. But now it's done. I live it, I love it. Cause I'm the one, chosen one. Never thought about how good it felt to live, doing things you never did, risking all you had to give. I ain't got no time for no petty bullshit. The feeling that I'm feeling is when they feeling what I could spit. When the track come on, they don't wonder should I push, skip it, turn the volume up, light a blunt while they push whips. Gotta love the energy when my niggas feeling me. The shallow rap shit on the radio is killing me.
And if you ain't motivated by Martin Luther King, then I don't know what the hell will motivate you. That man right here, like, and I ain't even get into the I have a dream part of the speech. Bruh. The conclusion is he talking about let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say this right here. The I have a dream speech. I mean, you can listen to it. Probably better if you just listen to it from him, but I want to say it for this podcast, my podcast, damn it, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna recite this. I have a dream today. But it's Martin Luther King Day, one of the favorite days, my favorite days of the year, honoring Dr. King. I got a big old poster of Dr. King in my house. Always had it. It said I'm going to recite it, but let me read this. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discord of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my father died, land of the pilgrim pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, we will let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. All Martin wanted was unity. Here we are in 2025, and we are not united. We are not a United States of America. We are very divided states of America. And what this goes to prove and show is what I told you. They, whoever they are, we know who they are. But I want you to figure out who they are. Get their power from us being divided. If we were united, we would be unstoppable. Who knows how great of a nation this would be if we were all united, if our political views wasn't red and blue, if our political views, if it wasn't MAGA, if it wasn't liberal, if it wasn't just far right, if it wasn't just far left, if it wasn't black and white, if it wasn't just, you know what I'm saying, if it was just people. We're people. We weren't at war with each other all the time in the United States of America. Do you know when the United States of America was the most united? 9/11. You know why? Because someone attacked our turf. Our turf got attacked. All the people who didn't like Bush still behind Bush. You know they said Bush had something to do with it. But even then, I'm just saying, listen, at the time. Even though they said he had something to do with it, I'm talking about at the time, though. Listen. When we got hit on American soil, we didn't fight against each other. What's sad is also during that time, the ignorance in Americans, from black, white, don't even matter, found a common enemy in someone else who looked like the people that supposedly took down the Twin Towers. And we were still divided. We are America. We are Americans. Those who come over here to take that sacred oath, that citizenship, to be an American. Love America just like the rest of us. Martin Luther King, this day isn't just about having dream speech. It's the intent behind the speech. And what we need to do, we need to be better. We need to do better. We have to be better as Americans. This is my longest podcast right here. Now, this guy deserves it. We have to be better as Americans. We have to be better as people. We have to be better as a country. We have to love each other, barring our differences. You conservative. But the hate that is spewed in America these days from the left and from the right is different than the hate that was spewed 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. That hate had divided us even more as a nation. Martin Luther King's speech was to unite us. So hopefully, January 20th, we can be united. We can find a way to be more united. We can have our differences at the end of the day. Hell, there's Michigan fans out there. I'm a Ohio State fan. There's Michigan fans out there. I don't know how y'all like Michigan. I don't even get it. But you don't get how I like Ohio State. But you know what? We still cool. Right? We still cool. So, January 2025, Martin Luther King Day. It's that boy Mo 629 coming to y'all. I'm about to get up on out of here. Thank y'all for listening to this episode of the Start On and Finish It podcast. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Enjoy it. I hope this episode, you know what I'm saying? It's one of my favorite episodes right here. I love doing this episode. But, you know what it is. Start it, own it.
You've been listening to the Start It, Own It, Finish It podcast. Be sure to subscribe to receive new episodes. Link up with Dat Boy Mo 629 on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Or visit him at aceonewarrior.com. Until next time, start it, own it, finish it.